If we're being honest, shooting is not always a positive experience, especially as a beginner. I would say that for most people who aren't familiar with guns, shooting might as well be like banging pots and pans together. It's loud and they have no clue how to actually hit what they're shooting at. It's my opinion that shooting isn't fun, shooting well is fun. And that's probably especially true, maybe not especially true, but that's certainly true for beginner shooters. It's just much more rewarding to hit what you're aiming at, especially when you aren't being punished with explosions and sharp recoil. At least that was my experience. And over the last few years, I found that I often encounter beginner shooters on the range who don't have access to a beginner gun. Maybe they came into a range to rent something to try, but didn't actually have the information to know what to rent. And the guy behind the counter thought that he'd get a kick out of watching them try to shoot a 45 for the first time. A good example would be just a few months ago, I was at a ladies' night at our local indoor range, and there was actually a group of Canadian women who wanted to experience shooting a pistol before actually getting on their flight that night. The problem was they were having constant malfunctions, and they also assumed that there would be just like on-demand firearms instruction for them. And so they came to the range to kind of learn how to shoot a pistol for the first time, and they were just kind of like handed a pistol and they didn't actually know how to manipulate it. It was a whole challenge, but I could see the frustration on their faces. And fortunately, they accepted my help, but wouldn't it have been so much better if I just had the perfect gun for them to use for their very first pistol shooting experience? So some of those examples and some similar experiences I've had over the last couple of years has led me to the idea of the perfect beginner pistol. I want a gun that is so easy to shoot that any new shooter can enjoy the process right away without having to worry about noise or recoil. Whether they're 5 years old shooting for the very first time or 85 years old shooting for the first time. So from here, the requirements are really straightforward. I want a reliable .22 pistol with a good trigger and magazine capacity. I'd like to have a suppressor on there and for sure a red dot. Of course, I want it to be reliable, quiet, intuitive, and soft shooting. So for this beginner pistol, there are a few options that I'm considering for this particular setup. The Taurus TX22 Competition specifically, or the Ruger Mark IV. I actually have a few friends with Taurus TX22s and they tell me that they run like sewing machines. And I've also heard really nothing but good things about the Ruger as well. The Ruger does have the added benefit of being optimized to use with a suppressor, but I already have personal experience with some of Taurus's newer pistols, and I've been pretty impressed with them thus far as reliability and shootability in general. Which for some of you who have been around the pistol space for quite some time, Taurus has not always had the best of reputations. As far as the suppressor for this project, I was considering the Huxworks because we already own a Huxworks that we like, and it seems like a good balance between weight and reliability. For the optic, I would like to go with, hold on, I have it right here. The Holosun 507 Comp because it's a really nice big window and I already have one. I also find that a larger window may be more intuitive for beginners. However, I could potentially end up with something like the 407K for budget purposes if I were to choose to put this onto something else. Also, big shout out to Big Tex Ordnance for providing me with this optic. I do have experience with both of those optics, so definitely no concerns either way. All in all, I've been wanting to do this project for quite some time. We have guns in our safe that are pretty okay for beginners to shoot, but I've always wanted to have something that was available to our friends and family that is just absolutely all fun and zero drag. Up until now, I've been prioritizing other projects, but now I am parting with one of the guns in my safe, so I finally have the funds to put towards this particular idea. I'm curious though, do you have any guesses on which gun is being sacrificed for this project? Video incoming on that. Let me know down in the comments what your ideal beginner gun would be, and keep an eye out for a future video on this.